welcome back to another edition of the Prepper Recon Podcast. Our mission is to bring you great interviews with preppers from around the world so you can be better informed and better prepared for everything from a hurricane to the end of the world as we know it. Whether your plan is to bug out or bug in, CampingSurvival.com has all of your preparedness needs, including fish antibiotics, long-term storage food, water filters, bug-out bags, and first aid kits. Use coupon code PrepperRecon for 5% off your entire order at CampingSurvival.com. I've been purchasing gold and silver from JM Bullion since before they were a show sponsor because they have the lowest price of any dealer I know of. JM Bullion now offers free shipping on all orders, and Prepper Recon listeners will get $5 off any order over $300. Just go to jmbullion.com and use coupon code PR5 at checkout. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. This is Jimmy. I'm the intern.
Jimmy, the intern. I thought I was talking to Mark.
Mark had he checking the solar panels, and I thought I'd just go ahead and give you a call while he's checking the solar panels.
Oh, good. I thought maybe he went back to prison because I know he's got that recurring problem. So is he in prison right now by any chance?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that, but
okay.
But
well, I don't want to freak you out. I mean, you're the intern for a guy who's got a long felony record. So I mean, if he says he's going to pay you, he's not. He's going to do other stuff with the money. That was my experience.
Well, I don't think that would be very cool. Well, anyway, it's very, very, very cool to talk to you. It's the most awesome thing ever. I'm talking to Glen Tate.
You know, I would say I get that a lot, but it's not true. But I appreciate the sentiment. It's very nice.
Now, you remember when you told your wife that the Easter Bunny brought you a bunch of guns?
Yeah, I remember that. You're starting to sound like Chris Farley here when he was interviewing Paul McCartney.
Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, so anyway.
You're no good at this. Jimmy the intern, you're no good at this.
I know. That's why I'm the intern. But you're making a movie?
Yes, well, I'm going to try to make a movie. Doing a Kickstarter campaign. It's going to start April 2nd and go to May 2nd. And we're looking for people to pledge money, and they get stuff, like rewards. They might get, like for $20 pledge, they get a sticker, but most of the money of the $20 goes towards making the movie, and that kind of thing. There's rewards, from $1 up to $10,000. So we're going to try to raise a few $100,000 to make a movie. I have a real life Hollywood producer who's not a communist, who's very hard to come by. There's a lot of that in Hollywood. So this guy's a prepper, and I got a hold of him through a mutual friend. It's not like he called me up and, because most Hollywood guys are dirtbags, let's be honest. So, yeah, I'm making a movie, going to try to. And so people should go to the Kickstarter website and look for 299 days. By the time this airs, it'll probably be after April 2nd, so it'll be up. And you can go to the website, 299days.com, and we'll send you straight to Kickstarter. You can get signed DVDs and signed Blu-rays. That's one of the pledges. So that's very cool. So you'll have movies, and Jimmy, you can send the DVDs or Blu-rays to Mark, who I guess is in prison right now. So that would probably cheer him up to see some good movies, right?
Yeah, I would like that. Now, my cousin, he's an exterminator, but he was going to go to film school, so I don't know if you need a director.
We're going to try to do it a little bit more professional. I mean, no disrespect to your cousin, but we're actually going to have, it's going to be a Hollywood production without the Hollywood politics. That's what we're shooting for here, because it's got to be a good movie, or people won't watch it, or they'll say it's bad, and if they say it's bad, they'll say preppers are weirdos and crazies, and what we need is a really good movie that's like other movies you see, again, without the politics, the bad politics. There's good politics in it, just not the bad politics. And so people will say, hey, to their neighbor, for example, hey, you might want to watch this movie. It's pretty cool. Of course, if they said you might want to watch this movie, Jimmy the intern's cousin, the exterminator, directed it, people probably aren't going to watch it. But, people will watch this movie and they'll be like, hey, this kind of makes sense. This whole prepping thing, it makes kind of sense. And then the way that the economy collapses in this movie, you know what? I've been looking at the headlines, and doggone it, I can see that this could maybe really happen. So we want to open up some minds that way, and that's the way to do it. That's the goal of this thing, is to get this message out to a wider audience, and to do something entertaining too. I mean, have an entertaining movie. Life's got to be full of fun, and I think a great movie is a fun thing. So that's what we're trying to do.
Jimmy, who are you talking to? Oh,
you okay, Jimmy?
It's Glenn.
Is everything okay, Jimmy?
Give me that. Hello?
Is that Mark?
Glenn. Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Are you cool with Jimmy taking over the airwaves? I don't want to get him in trouble, but he sounded a little like maybe he was high or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think it was live. Oh,
okay,
man.
Good, because I was talking
live
to Jimmy, and was I not supposed to talk about the reason you've been absent lately?
Well, I was hoping we'd keep that between me and you, but Jimmy knows about it because he's here, but yeah.
He didn't seem to know about it.
This was live.
He didn't seem to know about it.
It was live. It was live. All right. Well,
okay.
We're already on the air, so I guess we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Today's guest is the wildly popular Glen Tate. Glenn, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, thanks, Mark. One thing I love to do is come on podcasts and make up untrue stories about people being felons. So if I ever said that, it was completely made up and just a joke. So I just wanted to let the listeners know about that right off the bat.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because that's absolutely not true at all. So I guess did you guys already let the cat out of the bag about the movie with Jimmy?
We sure did. Well, the movie's not going to be with Jimmy's cousin, the exterminator, as the director. We're not doing that. I mean, it was very tempting, but, we're not going to do that. We're going to have, as I explained to him, actual real Hollywood stuff without the Hollywood politics. But anyway, so yeah, I talked about the movie and the Kickstarter thing and the time, April 2nd to May 2nd that it's going to be up, and how to get a hold of us and how to contribute, all that kind of stuff. So I think I covered it with Jimmy. Cool.
Now, is David Hasselhoff, he's going to play Grant?
A lot of people are saying that based on what you put up on the internet about me maybe being David Hasselhoff in real life. I'm not David Hasselhoff. There's one difference between us. He has kind of a cooler radio voice than I do. I have kind of it sounds nasally to me, but I got used to it. I mean, I've been listening to myself for, a long time, so I'm kind of used to it. But no, not David Hasselhoff. Although, David, if you're listening, and you probably are, I'm open to whatever. I mean, we're not going to judge. I mean, David, if you're going to play me, you're going to need to lose some weight, my friend. Because, you kind of let yourself go. This isn't Baywatch anymore, or whatever, Knight Rider, the kit car thing or whatever. This isn't the 80s anymore. I mean, you've aged and you've put on some pounds, and, you need to trim up if you're going to play me. So that's my message to David Hasselhoff.
But seriously, though, there are going to be some big names. Can you tell us some of the cameos that we can expect to see in the movie?
Cameos, yes. I'm very excited about this. Jack Spirko, Survival Podcast, is going to have a cameo. And the reason is, he's in the book, and the reason he's in the book is because it's real life, because that's how I started learning about prepping, and I was looking for that common sense, non-weirdo kind of take on all of this stuff, because there's weirdo stuff out there, as you know, and you got to guard against that, because, I don't want to be a weirdo. I mean, anyway, and so he's going to be in there playing himself. It was funny, I was talking to him, and I said, yeah, Jack, you can play yourself in the movie. I said, you can't screw that up. I mean, you just be yourself, This is back in the day before he had his full-time show, and he would drive around in his Jetta on his way to work. As he was driving, he'd be doing the podcast, he'd be recording it, and all of a sudden he'd scream at people that were cutting him off and stuff in traffic. It was pretty hilarious. So I think we'll try to recreate the Jetta years of that. Let's see, other cameos. I'm trying to think.
Is Matt Shays going to be in the movie?
Well, he wants to be. He's got to try out. Matt Shea is He's a real live guy. He's a representative, Washington State House of Representatives. I think he's the assistant whip or assistant floor leader or something in the Washington State House of Representatives for the minority party. He's really a libertarian, but he runs as a Republican. He would like to be Snelling, the evil Snelling. He's an architect and a loyalist dirtbag in the books. And of course, Representative Shea is an awesome guy in real life, but I don't know why he wants to play a dirtbag. And then there's another rock star patriot legislator from Washington State, by the way, from Eastern Washington, not from communist-held Western Washington. But Representative Dave Taylor, who's just an awesome guy, and he wants to play Special Forces Ted. In fact, Dave actually grew his beard out, so he's got like a really cool contractor special operations guy looking beard right now because he wants to play Special Forces Ted. I'll tell you, a lot of people want to play Special Forces Ted, so it's going to be interesting. Of course, since Jimmy's cousin is not going to be the director, we're going to have actual casting people and like actual talent required to be in the movie. So, you know, if Representatives Shea and Taylor can act, you know, they can have a part. So, and you know, you could have a part too if you could act, but I don't know. You know, that's up to the real director.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, it's a little. This is Florida, so it's a little tough to get good help here. You know, I know Jack's got an intern, and you know, I guess that guy's you know, ex Special Forces, and you know, he's just, you know, top of the line. But you know, in Florida, you kind of take what you can get. So now,
well,
you said that you're going to do this through Kickstarter. You're not putting this all on your Amex Black Card.
No. And that's one of the things when I was first contacted by the guy who's going to be producing this, when I verified that he was actually one of us and had been on the Survival Podcast Forum since 2009, by the way, and with the date stamps on the posts and everything, it's pretty hard to fake that. So I knew he was a legit prepper. And so I, you know, talked to him, and the first thing I said to him was, listen, what we're not going to do here is have you tell me that I can be a star and that if I just, you know, mortgage my house and give you $100,000, I can be a star, and then you spend all that money on coke and hookers. I said, we're not doing that. And I halfway laughed, but it was my halfway humorous way of saying, we're going to make a movie and get a message out, and this is not about, you know, self-aggrandizement or wasting people's money or anything like that. And he laughed, and he was cool about it. I mean, it was an unusually sharp and gruff way to start off a relationship, but I wanted to let him know that I didn't have stars in my eyes. By the way, as far as the spending other people's money thing goes, because I despise government wasting other people's money and usually doing it in secret ways, I have an opportunity to kind of be the example for what I'd like to see in the rest of the world when it comes to this Kickstarter campaign. And we're going to have all the bank statements for the project online. And so people will see that we are not spending money on things that we shouldn't spend money on. So it would be a cool way, because I want people who pledge to donate to know that, you know, we're gonna do a good job on this, and then we're gonna make a movie. So, and one thing I need to mention about Kickstarter is important. I keep saying pledge. With Kickstarter, some of your listeners may not know. I didn't know about this until I started exploring this world of Kickstarter stuff, but it's a cool website. They've done, I think, 50,000 projects. I also saw 90,000 projects. So they've done tens of thousands of projects, a lot of short films and records and other kind of artistic things. Also products. I mean, people will invent stuff. They go on Kickstarter and they say, hey, if you pledge some money, we'll give you a reward. If it's a product, they'll send you maybe a product or something like that. We need to get the money to launch this. And so if you meet your funding goal, all these pledges that people make turn into donations. So at the end of the Kickstarter campaign for 299 Days of the Movie, if we meet our funding goal, which is going to be $370,000, by the way, then people who pledged will have their credit cards charged only if we meet that funding goal. So if we do not meet the funding goal, nobody's credit cards are ever charged, and all of that. So it's a great way to support something. And but not have to have your credit card charged and then get a refund and all that other kind of stuff. So Kickstarter's figured out how to do this, and they do a very nice job of it.
And now there's different levels of support too, right? I mean, now there's the level where you could just sort of pre-order a DVD or whatever, but now you've got other programs where you could get like an honorable mention in the movie. Is that true?
Yeah, there's off the top of my head, I want to say about a dozen reward levels, and everything from $1 up to $10,000, and for and I honestly can't remember the figure. I apologize. A pretty sizable pledge. It could be $500, could be $1,000. I can't remember. You can get your name spoken in the movie. Our idea for that is when the 17th irregulars are sounding off, and the commanding officers of each one of the irregular units is taking command. Your name. It'd be like Lieutenant Mark, that kind of thing. And so that would be one thing. You can have a background role. I believe that's $500. You have to get to California. Yes, it's probably going to be filmed in California because there are a lot of logistical reasons why that makes a lot of sense. Like all the actors and crew live there, and we can't put them in a rented van and drive them up here to the Seattle area. They just wouldn't stand for it. Maybe Jimmy's, cousin, the exterminator, would be okay with that, but
I've seen his
van. The legit people.
His van will not make it to California.
Yeah.
Every time it's in my driveway, I'm happy to see it make it out of my driveway, but it wouldn't make it to California. Now, you said 10,000. Now, is that the one where you can get a timeshare of your actual cabin?
Not a timeshare. I don't want to be misleading to anybody. It would be a full weekend out there. The whole team. We'd go out to a shooting range and do some fun stuff, hang out, have a good time. That's one of them. Another $10,000 one is James Yeager, tactical response trainer extraordinaire. Will be coming out to the real Joe Tantori facility. Joe's, of course, described in the book. He's a real dude because I have no imagination and I just write about real things, which is why people say the book is so realistic. And I take credit for that, but it's just real stuff. And if they want to think I'm creative, I'll let them think that. But anyway, the real Joe Tantori has an amazing facility, all kinds of very interesting military units train out there. And so it'd be a weekend with James and the team. That's a $10,000 thing. James is going to donate, all of his time and everything else. He's so behind the movie. It's really, really heartening to see that. And then another one is at the $5,000 level. This is cool. A weekend at Jack Spirko's homestead there in Texas, and I've been to his place. That's where we filmed the video, the Kickstarter video. Which, by the way, after April 2nd, you got to go on to the website and go see. It's about 8 minutes long. It's got all kinds of cool people in it. You get to see the team. The team is interviewed. They're talking and saying stuff. You can see the real Pow and the real Scotty and the real Bobby. I'm in silhouette, so I don't add much to it because you don't really get to see me, but that's essential. But anyway, so we went to Jack Spirko's place to shoot the video, which turned out amazingly well. He's an amazing guy. And one take, by the way, that's all it took. He sat down, he took a gulp of a beer, and he did 4.5 minutes, and we were done. And the producer said, okay, we're done. It took 6 hours to set up that shot. It went 4.5 minutes, one take, and we were like, wow, I have goosebumps, Jack. That was pretty amazing. So anyway, back to Jack's place. He's got an amazing homestead, all kinds of permaculture. It's just cool. It's like a living example of a self-sufficient property, and he's a great host. My goodness, amazing stories. But anyway, so it would be a weekend at Jack's place, $5,000. It doesn't cost very much, for us to do that, but it's really the big donors who really want to help make the movie, because a really healthy portion of that $5,000 goes towards funding the movie. By the way, with all these trips, cabin, Joe Tantori's, and Jack Spirko's, you need to get there yourself, right? So we're not paying for travel and stuff. But as you
there's
can
no
see,
limo pickup.
No limo pickup. No, unless Jimmy, one of Jimmy's cousins has a limo company. I bet maybe he does. Just a guess. I mean, I've been around the limo business. I know that guys like Jimmy's cousins are probably involved in that business.
Yeah, they're a long line of exterminators. But they're one of the few people in our county that will actually extract raccoons. Though, if you get like a raccoon nesting in your attic, that's a lot of people just won't even mess with them anymore. But everybody's got their gift. Now, is one of the reasons you're making the movie is it to help wake people up? Exactly right. Because the thing that was missing, the thing that I didn't have when I was this new prepper, and this is about 2008 when stuff was falling apart. Yes, it took a depression, because it was and still is a depression, by the way, not a recession, as you know, but it took this financial shock to get me to finally realize how fragile things were. But anyway, back then, I really wanted a rational, common sense, non-weirdo, guide to prepping. There's plenty of them now, by the way. I put your show in that category of non-weirdo stuff. But, there wasn't in 2008. But what I really want is that DVD or Blu-ray or computer download you can give your neighbor and say, this is what we're all about, or you might want to consider this. Another useful use for awkward wording for this is there are a lot of reluctant spouses out there. And this would be a great way. Usually the reluctant spouse is a wife, but sometimes a husband. But, like, hey, honey, it's date night. Let's watch a movie. Oh, sounds great. Hey, instead of a chick flick, let's watch 299 Days. What's that about? Oh, you'll love it. So that's an idea, is to get people who are maybe on the fence about prepping or completely ignorant about prepping, or even people who are prepping a little bit. They probably know that they ought to be doing this, but they're not really doing it hard enough. And of course, when you see some of the scenes that I hope are in, the movie, I hope the movie gets made is what I mean. Rioting and those sorts of things, it's going to be a wake-up call. So yeah, that is the entire purpose of this, because, a Kickstarter campaign is a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work. I'm not complaining or anything, but I could just try to shop this script around to Hollywood studios, and maybe one of them, I'm not saying that they'd all compete for me or anything, but maybe one of them would buy it and then I could make some money. But one of two things would likely happen if I did that. Number one, they would probably just sit on it and not actually make it, because whoever had the idea to buy the movie rights would probably say, hey, this is really cool. And then their bosses would say, we're not making a movie in which the government are bad guys. I mean, now that a Democrat's in the White House, the government cannot be bad guys in movies. If this were, during the Bush administration, that would be more tolerable for them to do. The other thing that could happen is, let's say they make a movie and it's really, really terrible. And the reason I think that could happen is Hollywood always has to change around the good guys and the bad guys to fit their narrative and their worldview. A classic example would be Red Dawn, a movie, the remake that I actually liked. I mean, I'm not ripping on it, but you'll probably remember in Red Dawn, the original one, it was, of course, the Russians who invade. And in the remake, it was going to be the Chinese who invade circa 2012 or 13, whenever the remake was done. But the studio did a lot of business in China, and the studio changed it to the North Koreans invading. The North Koreans are starving to death. I really don't see them with a 4,000-mile supply line across the Pacific Ocean. I really don't see that as likely. So there's an example, the North Koreans invading the United States. That's what happens when you let Hollywood do these kind of things. So, we're preppers. We're self-reliant. We do things on our own. We don't rely on the government or anyone else to do stuff. So we decided through this kind of cool Kickstarter vehicle that's out there to go ahead and try to do this on our own, and we'll see if we succeed.
we have tons and tons of fans, and we've already got some really, really good indicators that this should go well, but it is not a given. I mean, $370,000 in a 1-month period is a pretty big goal. So if people want to see 299 days of the movie, they need to get on Kickstarter as soon as they hear this and pledge. They need to share it on Facebook, and they need to tell their friends about it. They need to actively help get some pledges, because it's going to be tough to do. It's doable, but it's going to be tough to do. And I'd like to show Hollywood that there's enough support out there among the prepper community, patriot community, I guess, too, to do this. I want them to see that a movie like this with a message like this is commercially viable. That's all they care about. I mean, that's all they understand. So, yeah, let's get out and do it. We're preppers. Let's get it done.
That's a really great point about, let's just all get together and do it, because that's what self-reliance is all about, is that we don't have to go to Hollywood to let the liberals get a hold of this and just rip it to shreds to where it looks nothing like, what we'd all like to see it be. So that's a great point. Now, speaking of preppers, do you think some preppers are tempted to get out of balance with their preps? Do you think it's sometimes you'll get the gun guy and he gets carried away with guns and ammo and forgets about his comms? Or could the gold and silver stackers, could they forget to put away enough food? Do you ever see that?
Oh, totally, and I've lived it. I'm an example of it, and so I don't mind admitting that I'm doing something bad, because the cool thing is about a pen name like Glen Tate, if Glen Tate is doing something foolish, nobody really knows who I am, so it's like some foolish, fictitious guy. But anyway, no, you're absolutely right. I gravitate towards guns because I love them, and there are holes in my preps that I work really hard to overcome. Comms would be a hole. I think I've done a decent job of that, but I've had a lot of help. And so water, that's something else that I kind of overlook, and I've taken some steps. I mean, it's not nearly as cool to buy water barrels and that sort of thing as it is guns. I think I have the food pretty well under control. That's one of the things on the Real Life team that I've taken responsibility for. I'm just going to do that. I mean, some of the other guys on the team, they're younger than I am. They don't have kids, and they have all kinds of disposable income because they don't have kids. And in some cases don't have wives. So
even
again, more disposable income. Exactly. They have more time and more money and more freedom than I do. But anyway, and they focus on a lot of the tactical stuff, a lot of the really high-end gear and the latest and greatest stuff. And what I do is I let them test something out, see if it works, and if it does, 6 months later I go, hey, tell me how to order one of those. So they do a lot of the weapons stuff. We have a couple comms guys. I can't say there's like a far and away comms leader, but there are a couple of us that are up on it. I'm not as up on others. Medical is important. We're lucky to have a pretty stupendous medic, so that's a plus. That's unusual to have that level of skill and experience. And so, yeah, it's very easy to get the blinders on. There's two ways around that. The best way around that is to constantly be aware of it and to say, okay, I'm not into buying water barrels because it's not nearly as cool as guns, but I need to do it because I'm probably going to get thirsty faster than I'm going to get in a firefight. And so, the classic thing, 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So you got to keep that in mind. The other way to get around it, it's a partial remedy, is what I was describing about having a team with all kinds of different skills. The difficulty with that is it would be relatively easy to go out and find people with different skills and that are going to focus on different things. I say relatively easy. I don't think it would be actually easy because it's not like you can, go on Craigslist like now forming prepper team. Maybe you do. I don't know. I haven't been on Craigslist in a long time, so I don't know. Maybe that happens. But even if you could find people that had all these different skills, you have to get along really well. You have to have common goals because you're going to be in a really close relationship. A prepping team is an extremely close relationship, especially, my guys on the team. It's unlike any relationship I've ever experienced, in personal life or in business or in anything close to it. So, but you can diversify and have people with different interests, but you sure do. And I think when the class hits, there are going to be a lot of pure gun guys that are going to get really thirsty. And, I think there's going to be a lot of realizing that people should have done it. By the way, there's a kind of the flip side of the gun guy thing. There are quite a few, homesteaders, I would say, maybe would be a good term. I call them left libertarians. They're not fans of government, but culturally they're to the left, and they might be kind of like older hippies or something like that. But they're libertarians, but they really don't like guns, and they really don't like violence, and they assume that if they just grow their own food, everything will be okay, and they don't understand that there are going to be a lot of people trying to take their stuff. American Meltdown, by the way, outstanding depiction of that. I want to compliment you on that. Extremely nicely done. And illustrates that very well. But anyway, so yeah, people need to be well-rounded, and the only way to do that is constant vigilance. And a great way to get the constant vigilance, this is how I did it, is to listen to a bunch of podcasts, prepping podcasts, because you're constantly reminded of these things. You might have forgotten about comms, and you tune into Prepper Recon, and there's a whole segment, a guest on comms, and you go, golly, I need to step it up on this. So yeah.
Our mutual friend, John Jacob Schmidt, he was on the show and he did a really great primer on comms.
That's who I was thinking about.
Yep.
He's kept me in line with comms, and it's been a great resource. So that's the beauty of podcasting and the internet. We can get all these bits of information out and motivate and continue to motivate each other.
Yeah, I what I do is I get on kicks. Like when we first bought our house, my kick was gardening, so everything was about gardening, getting some fruit trees and all that kind of thing going. And then there was the bug out bag kick where I just spent weeks on end trying to perfect the bug out bag, and lately it's been trying to perfect the blowout kit. I've been trying to put together a really nice individual first aid kit. I finally got one together, and I think that it's really the perfect size, and it's kind of got everything in it, and it's not loaded down with a lot of excess stuff, but I think I really got together a good kit. But then I thought, I've put so much time into putting this kit together, so now I've put it up. I've got a store on Prepper Recon now. I've got the IFAC, or individual first aid kit store there, and I've got them on there for $99, and they ship, and they come in a nice little MOLLE pouch that zips up, and then it's got the little MOLLE straps in the back, and it'll MOLLE onto your MOLLE vest or a MOLLE backpack, or you can put it on your belt, and it's got tons of just like the essential gear that you need in there. It's got Quick Clot. It's got TK4 tourniquet, Asherman chest seal for sucking chest wounds. Your lungs are one of the biggest targets on your body. It's got a 6-inch Israeli battle dressing, which if folks don't know what that is, it's a self-contained sterile compression bandage. It's got 3 pre-threaded sutures, nylon sutures, betadine swabs. That's what they clean you up with in the hospital before they sew you up. It's got hemostats, tons of lots of Band-Aids, Band-Aid tough strips, which even if you're bloody and wet and sweaty, those things will still stick to you, and burn gel, which if you do have to do any suturing, burn gel's it's lidocaine. That's the main ingredient in there. You can put a little burn gel in there before you have to actually do the stitching, and it'll act as a topical. It'll numb it up just a little bit for you. And then hand sanitizer, because if you ever have to do any work in the field, you can sanitize your hands and your equipment with hand sanitizer. It's not as good as boiling it, but it's better than nothing. And EMT shears, which those things they'll cut denim, they'll cut. I've heard they'll cut Kevlar. I've heard they'll cut a penny. So,
and this is $99. That's outrageous.
$99 shipped, and then you can get the Molly pack, and it comes in Coyote, black, or ACU digital camo. So,
man, that's a great deal.
Yeah, I can do it because I started buying all this stuff in bulk, So, but I don't think you could put it together yourself and pay for the individual shipping. I don't think you could put it together yourself for $99.
No, I know you can. I've tried.
Yeah, and I think Mrs. Tate's, she's in the medical field, isn't she?
That's what?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
What'd you say? Sorry. Mrs. Tate's in the medical field, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So we got that going for us, too. I mean, that's kind of a plus. That's an unusual asset to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. While we're on medical stuff, a lot of preppers buy the fish antibiotics. And Thomas Labs, which is the company that makes all of the fish antibiotics, they just closed down. So,
no, really? Seriously?
Yeah, really. They really did. So, if you've got a supplier of those, because a lot of people, they've probably still got their stocks, but, you should probably be getting it now. And I don't know why they closed down, but their website is completely gone. It's complete. ThomasLabs.com is completely offline. It's completely gone. And I would expect that it's going to be one of those things that within 2 or 3 weeks that you just won't be able to get them anywhere, because I don't know of anybody else that manufactures the antibiotics specifically for fish that's available to get without a prescription. So I know campingsurvival.com, that's one of our sponsors. I don't get any kind of a cut for, they pay their monthly fee. I don't get any extra bonus for if they do X amount of sales, but it's probably a place that you can still get them, and you can use coupon code Prepper Recon for 5% off your entire order over there. But I don't know if it's a temporary thing or if it's permanent. But if it's permanent, I guess that'll be that. It might be the government, maybe the FDA shut them down. I don't know. I don't have any idea.
Yeah, and it would be pure speculation. But when you said that, the first thing that came to mind was FDA doing it. And, if that is the case, I don't know that it is, but if it's a governmental action because they're enforcing some stupid regulations, shame on them, because when this collapse hits, there will be thousands of people that will probably die unnecessarily because they didn't have reasonably priced so-called fish antibiotics, which are fine on humans. And it would just be because the FDA decided to enforce stupid rules. So shame on the FDA if that all happens. They're going to have to live with that the rest of their lives and longer, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think they've got a lot of stuff they're going to have to live with, the government in general. Mm-hmm. And, and it may be a thing where they don't want any competition. They want to be the only ones with the antidote, and they want to make sure that you have to go through them or a officially government-sanctioned source, which, I think that the whole medical industry is sort of like that. It's probably a pharmaceutical company that's, that makes some large donations, and they called their senator that's in their pocket and said, hey, these guys are doing this, and you got to shut them down. And so.
Yeah, believe me, that's how this game works. I know that.
Now, what else is on your radar right now? Geopolitically,
oh my goodness.
Economically.
Geopolitically, I mean, I was thinking about the answer to that, and I realized anything I say today will probably be overtaken by events by the time people hear it. But so I'll be general. And of course, the Ukraine, the fact that the United States, the West, the United States in particular, is impotent, and is not. That doesn't mean, by the way, that I think that we ought to start a war with Russia over Crimea. I don't mean that at all. I mean that the United States economically, it's interesting. I used to think in military terms, back the good old days of the Cold War, it was, tank columns marching across Eastern Europe, and that was what a confrontation with Russia looked like. And now that seems pretty silly. But economically, how we are so leveraged with so much debt, the Russians can laugh at us because we can't afford a war. We can't even afford the economic and political ramifications of making the Russians, but really the Chinese, mad. And so we can't do anything about anything. And just before we came on, I saw that North and South Korea traded some artillery pieces or artillery rounds. And it wasn't the beginning of a war. I don't mean to exaggerate, but I mean it was a few hundred rounds on each side that basically went into each other's waters. I mean, it didn't go into populated areas. So, you know, I'm not going to blow that out of proportion. But I mean, Korea has at least minimally flared up a little bit. If I were Japan or Taiwan, I would be terrified right now because I think that while things are going on in Ukraine, China can use that as a distraction and go sell some scores there. That could be what's going on in Korea. If it escalates, that could be what it is. Or it could be, you know, some crazy North Korean generals just having a bad day. So it could be that. But all over the world, we're going to see this aggression by other countries, and our allies are going to see that we're not going to help them. We're incapable of helping them, and it's going to cause a lot of our allies to rethink things, and that will have all kinds of weird ramifications that maybe we can't even see right now, because when you upset the chessboard, it puts everything into disarray. I keep waiting for the collapse. I know that sounds really terrible to say. It highlights the fact that I've been wrong about timing. So I've been wrong about timing. But it's, I don't know, probably going to happen soon. Don't know what that means. And don't ask because I don't know. So it's just this time where there's all this badness on the horizon, and I've never seen it like this. I mean, all kinds of people I know, even my so-called normal friends, I love calling them my normal friends as opposed to my prepper friends, are coming to me and saying, hey, you know how to shoot guns, right? Would you like to, I'm thinking about buying a pistol, and I'd love for you to teach me how to shoot a pistol and stuff. You can just tell that people know that something's coming. So don't know what it is. I will say this, though, that if you wanted to predict a collapse, it would be under the kind of conditions we have now. And I don't just mean the big conditions that have been going on for years and decades, like the unsustainable debt. I mean things like the Ukraine situation and all the ramifications that it has geopolitically. So that's I'm just kind of in a wait and see mode, and there's a lot to see.
And the Ukrainians, they shipped all their gold out of the country, and guess who they decided to have safeguard it for them? America. What a great idea, huh?
Yeah, because we've been such an awesome ally for them, you know, guaranteeing their territorial integrity in exchange for them giving up their nuclear weapons, which, by the way, I bet Ukraine really wishes it had their nuclear weapons it inherited in the early 90s from the Soviet Union. They wouldn't have the problems they're having now. Now, you know, I'm not a big fan of every country having nuclear weapons, but I mean, yeah. So, yeah, and you know, I understand Poland has activated some of its reserve forces. Don't know what that means. Could be complete exaggeration on my part. I could have got a fragment of the information, but you know, if I were Estonia, I would be worried right now because the Russians have upped the ante and the rhetoric about how Estonia needs to respect the rights of the ethnic Russians there, and Estonia needs to quit requiring everybody to speak Estonian instead of Russian, which is kind of similar to what the Russians were saying about Ukraine. So, very tense time. And here's the thing that's different. I mean, we've had tense times like forever. I agree with that. But the thing that's different is the whole world, including United States citizens, have now seen that the United States is impotent. And that's what's changed. We knew it. Maybe there were some white papers. Maybe you and me would read articles on the internet, and you and I would come to these kind of conclusions. Now people get it. I mean, look at the president's polling numbers, especially on national defense. It's very clear that the American people get that America, you know, has got no juice. So that's what's changed, and that's what's kind of dangerous.
And then back to the Ukrainian gold. Wasn't that funny that there were no logistical issues of getting 33 tons of gold out in one day, but yet Germany, when they wanted to repatriate their gold, they were told it'd take 7 years, and 2013 it was scheduled to take 84 tons from the vaults of the New York Fed to Germany. And they were only actually able to ship 37 tons, which is just 4 tons more than what they were able to bring in one night from Ukraine. So there's no logistical issue of bringing it in very quickly. But then when you want to get it out, it's just a nightmare, and we just can't do it. I'm thinking that the vaults must be downhill. So if you want to walk the bars down, it's real easy. But then lugging them back up the hill, it's just a complete bear.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a one-way ratchet. It only works one particular way, which would be bringing gold into the U.S. Speaking of gold, I understand Russia bought some more gold last week. I want to say 7 metric tons off the top of my head, which is not a gigantic number, but it shows that the Russians are smart and are buying gold.
Well, they had $400 billion worth of U.S. debt, so I think that they're trying to divest of that. And I guess once you get your ammo stockpiles where you want them, that's the next place to go, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You coined the term actually, which is taken off a little bit. The precious metal that people should own. Glen Tate, which is ammunition.
It's an alloy.
Yes.
It's brass and copper jacketed lead, isn't it?
It certainly is. Glen Tate. I love it. People should start Googling that word, that term, I guess. So, yeah, Glen Tate is a good thing to have, which, by the way, relates to the Russian thing. There's 5.45 by 39 made in Russia is now harder to find. So there's that. But that doesn't affect you if you don't have an AK-74 and all of that.
And you've been paying attention to what's going on in Venezuela?
Yeah, I have. It's hard to follow it because the Western media doesn't seem to care. I have a friend who's Venezuelan, which is actually how I keep up with it, and she shows me Twitter feeds and everything of just amazing and terrible, terrible things. In fact, I try to downplay with her because her family is still there. And I try to keep her upbeat, and I'm like, well, it's no big deal. I don't say it's no big deal, but this is it's humorous in a way, but kind of sad. I work out with her, and another guy at the gym decided that he was going to impress her, I guess. So I'm talking to her, and she's showing me these pictures and showing me pictures of Venezuelan riot police with shotguns shooting in the crowd, and I said, well, they're rubber bullets. I mean, they're non-lethal, and I know that they can be lethal, but I'm just trying to, comfort this person because, she's really worried. And this guy decided to be Mr. Tough Guy, tactical knowledge guy. He's like, yeah, rubber bullets can kill. Just talking about how those people are probably dying, and I wanted to pull him aside and say, would you just shut up for 10 seconds? But anyway, I digress. But so I can't say it's personal. It's not my family that's back there, but I'm getting a personal side to this whole Venezuelan thing. And I think Venezuela is, in a lot of ways, a model for what's going to happen here. Perhaps an exaggerated model. They have a history of these things, and we don't have as much of a history of these problems. But the way that the government...
But it's really based on a political divide. It's two polarized political parties where you've got 51% sort of socialists and 49% that would rather see a smaller government, freer sort of a society. And that's the basic issue behind the thing, isn't it? And the media blackout, it's also from of course, even if there was no media blackout by the Venezuelan government, I still don't think that you'd see anything about it on CNN or Fox or MSNBC. But the government's really cracked down on the media.
Yeah, and the way that the Venezuelan government slowly co-opted the media and business and every other facet of Venezuelan life, I think, is a bit of a blueprint for what they would do here. And they didn't do it the old-fashioned Bolshevik way, which would just to be, to take over instantly. The other thing I find interesting about the Venezuelan situation as it applies to America is the use of the thugs and the paramilitary folks. In Venezuela, they're the Red Berets, the Chavistas, I'm sorry, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but the Chavez people. And I actually modeled the F Corps, the Freedom Corps, with the yellow helmets in the United States in the book 299 Days on the Venezuelan thugs, and kind of looked at how they intimidated crowds and were all corrupt, and basically a lot of bad people in society gravitated towards being, these government sanctioned thugs, and that's pretty scary. Venezuela is amazing. It's got a huge oil reserves. As I understand it, since 1999, I saw this figure. I don't know if it's true, but it probably is. Since 1999, Venezuela has earned almost $1 trillion in oil revenue, and the country has no foreign currency reserves. Inflation's out of control. There's shortages of toilet paper. There's food shortages. There's all this terrible, terrible gang and government violence in a small country that's had $1 trillion flow into it free and clear, and they're having these problems, which is of course what happens when you have socialism. But anyway, so I view it as a bit of a template for us, and I hope not, because it's pretty horrible over there right now.
And toilet paper's a great thing to prep, isn't it? Because that's, once you run out of that, society as we know it is just it's really taking a turn for the worst. I mean, there's a
Amazon
lot of things.
Prime.
There's a lot of things I can get by without, but toilet paper is not one of the things I want to get by without.
Amazon Prime, 96 rolls delivered to your house for $45, shipping included, because it's Amazon Prime. Everyone ought to do it.
Wow, that's awesome. My wife's a couponer, and so we've got about 6 months worth that she's bought, most of it on just through coupons, and most of our dry storage food comes through her couponing efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So
good idea.
I'm very blessed to have a couponer for a wife that makes a good prepper's wife there.
Yes.
So all you single preppers out there, ask her if she knows about coupons. Now, tell us where we go. One more time, if we want to help out with the movie, we go to 299days.com, and you got a link to Kickstarter there. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Right on the homepage of 299days.com will be a big old way to get to Kickstarter. I mean, if you wanted to, you could go to Kickstarter.com and search for 299 days, and it'll take you there. But it's better to go through our website. You'll get there, quick and easy, and all of that. And that's the way to do it, and it's the only way to do it. If people want this book series turned into a movie, this is the way to do it. And there's only one way.
And then we can go to your Facebook page. Also, we can go to the 299 Days Facebook page, and we could like that. And then there's going to be posts on there that we could share, so we can share it on our social media, on our Facebook, and sort of get like a brush fire going with that. Exactly right.
Facebook is huge. It's so easy to share stuff. That's a really tangible way. I would say second only to somebody going on and pledging, the second best thing you can do is to share the heck out of it on Facebook, and that's really, really key. And the Kickstarter page has an easy button to hit, the Facebook thing, or you can tweet it. And there's some other social media things that I never heard of because, I'm like, I don't know, I don't spend a ton of time on social media because I'm busy talking to you and reading your books.
Awesome. Well, everybody get on there and sign up and help Glenn out, and let's get this movie made, because I need to watch something besides American Idol and Dancing with the Stars. I'm just tired of that stuff. I need something with some real content. And Glenn, thanks again for coming on the show. We're going to have links to all of that stuff in today's show notes as well, to take you to the Facebook page and the Kickstarter campaign and 299days.com.
Well, thank you, and give my best to Jimmy the intern. I think I was a little rough on him. I might have hurt his feelings.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer he's going to be with us, actually. It's going to be hard to replace him because there's just, like I said, it's Florida. And there's just not a lot of good help here. But, you know, and there's a lot to do around here now, but we'll see what happens. We might have to just work his cousin into the program here.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Glenn, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Preppers and Patriots. American Meltdown, the long-awaited sequel to American Exit Strategy, is now available in Kindle and paperback. In American Meltdown, Book 2 of the Economic Collapse Chronicles, the new president, Anthony Howe, signs an executive order banning all semi-automatic weapons. Matt, Adam, and Wesley Baer begin training with their local militia for the battle that is coming. Within weeks of the inauguration, the $700 trillion derivatives bubble pops when rates on U.S. debt skyrocket. The derivatives crisis is the final nail in the coffin of the banking system and the death of the fiat currency system in America. With the dollar gone, commerce comes to a screeching halt. While times prove to be tough for all, survival favors the prepared. Get your Kindle or paperback copy of American Meltdown, Book 2 of the Economic Collapse Chronicles on Amazon